To tonight's Salt Lake City Council formal meeting. We are continuing to hold our meeting remotely due to declarations of emergency related to the pandemic and earthquake. While we hold our meetings remotely, we are happy to have you connecting with us online or by phone. Thank you for joining us. To begin, we'll take a moment of silence as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. When done, we'll go ahead and turn the audio back on. So please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance to yourselves. Okay. Welcome back. Conducting our meetings electronically is different from our in-person norm, and I want to cover the guidelines under our public meetings and general comment section of our agenda. So I'll cover that when we get to that agenda item. We'll start with agenda item A4, which is approval of 3 sets of minutes, including the work session meeting minutes of Tuesday, July 14th, 2020, Tuesday, August 18th, 2020, and the formal meeting minutes of Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve those minutes.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rogers and a second from Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion to this motion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros is absent. Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That is unanimous with 1 councilmember absent. Next, we're at item A5, which is a joint ceremonial resolution with Mayor Mendenhall declaring November 20th as Transgender Day of Remembrance in Salt Lake City. I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution. Joint resolution recognizing November 20th as Transgender Day of Remembrance in Salt Lake City. Whereas in 1998, Rita Hester, a transgender woman of color, was murdered in Alliston, Massachusetts. And whereas the following year, Gwendolyn Ann Smith, a transgender woman, created the first Transgender Day of Remembrance in honor of Rita Hester and other transgender people who have lost their lives to violence. And whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance is observed annually to memorialize those lives that have been lost as a result to transphobic violence. And whereas since 2006, Transgender Education Advocates, or T of Utah, has organized a vigil in Salt Lake City. And whereas deaths from transphobic violence have nearly doubled in the US in the last year, for a total of 44 victims in the US and 325 victims worldwide. And whereas the true number of victims is unknown because of international misgendering and the difficulty with identifying the bodies of many victims. And whereas Salt Lake City values the lives and contributions to our community by transgender people, and whereas Salt Lake City has the responsibility to promote equality and prosperity for all members of the transgender community, and whereas Salt Lake City is proud to stand against the discrimination of transgender people. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Salt Lake City Council and Mayor of Salt Lake City strongly value the lives of transgender people and honor those lives that have been lost as a result of transphobic violence throughout the United States of America and the world. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Mono and a second from Councilmember Fowler. Is there any discussion to this motion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros is absent. Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That resolution is adopted unanimously with 1 councilmember absent, Councilmember Valdemoros. Accepting the resolution will be Candace Metzler and Dallas Rivas from the Transgender Education Advocates, or T of Utah. Also in attendance for this resolution, we have Kevin Randall from Blackbird Communication, Samantha Taylor from the Utah LGBTQ+ Chamber of Commerce, and Jonathan Phelp from the Utah Pride Center. So normally this is the part where we would come down and take a picture with you. But since we cannot do that right now, I'd be happy to offer Candace and Dallas or anybody else who wants to say a few words is welcome to do so. Candace, do you want to start us off if you have anything?
There we go. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I would love to say a few words, and thank you for giving us this opportunity, and I'm honored to have a chance to speak today. Rita Hester was murdered on November 20, 1998. Her death sparked the movement that has become the International Transgender Day of Remembrance, a day that is now recognized on the 20th of November each year. Her surviving family lost a loved one, and like similar families, had to come to grips with the violence that takes so many innocent lives each year due to hatred towards transgender and gender diverse people. This form of hate is generally entangled with intersecting factors like race, gender expression, and socioeconomic status, but it is always has the mark of extreme violence and a blatant disregard for the safety of life. Rita's surviving family is reminded of this tragedy every year now, but they understand something that most of us do not. Who Rita was as a living person, the connections and passions Rita had in life, the struggles and triumphs that we all experience, share, celebrate, and overcome with family and friends. Rita is not just a face or a name on a website for them. Her memory is more than a story of a tragedy. According to the Remembering Our Dead website, for more than a decade, at least one person is killed every month due to transgender-based hate or prejudice, regardless of any other factor. Since November of last year, 4 people have been killed in the U.S., and as I heard Chris talking, you know, that number is always elusive and hard. It is always an undercount. And more than 300 globally. Today, as is the case with many of these situations, murder is yet to be solved. The perpetrators of her murder never facing consequences for their hateful actions. While gathering to memorialize these lives is a way of bringing love and respect to people killed each year, it is also critical that we seek to understand the seeds of the violence so we can end the cycle. If nothing else, 2020 has taught us that life is fragile and our ability to live and thrive is tethered to our social conditions. We have seen the best of humanity in the doctors, nurses, and workers which are great risk to their own personal health and well-being to keep people alive and our society functioning. We've all seen the worst of humanity in the disregard for personal responsibility and accountability for the health and well-being of others, and a seemingly growing tolerance for the unnecessary death and misery of others. If we teach our children intolerance towards some people, does intolerance then become a tool that can be used against any person for any reason? Once dignity and respect is removed from the value of one from value for one life, is it not then easier to disregard such things from others? The fact that so many lives continue to be taken in this silence each year is a reflection of who we are as a society and what we really value and are willing to tolerate. In reality, what is happening to these lives and our response to the violence can help us understand how we are becoming the people who seemingly have a growing tolerance for unnecessarily death and misery. When we teach love to the world, we make love and respect part of who we are as individuals, families, communities, and society. It becomes part of our social DNA. These lives matter. We say their names because they still matter and deserve better in life. We gather to call on leaders in our communities and throughout the world to acknowledge this ongoing tragedy. And we want meaningful action to bring those who have perpetrated such hateful acts to justice. We want meaningful change in policies and laws to help convey a clear message that this behavior is unacceptable, and we want to see action that backs up such claims. We call on all people, defenders of dignity, love, and respect for all life, and to teach such things, for example, through actions. Perhaps through such efforts, this memorial service can one day come to represent more than an annual event that denotes an ongoing tragedy and injustice. Perhaps one day, Rita Hester will come to represent a struggle that we overcame together and a triumph that we share as a human family. Each of us has a role to play in getting to that. I want to thank you for this moment.
Thank you, Candace. I appreciate that. Your comments were a little bit choppy, but I think we got them all. So thank you. Do we have, I don't see Dallas with us. So I'm gonna move on and let. Oh, hello.
Oh, sorry, Council Chair. I don't see Dallas Rivas as well, but we do have Kevin Randall, Samantha Taylor, and Jonathan Folk as well.
Yes, Kevin, did you want to say a few words?
Yeah, hi. No, I just want to say it's been a great week so far, just learning from the members of our transgender and non-binary conforming members of our community. I've learned a lot from them, and I would just encourage everyone to go to the west side of the city and county building and see the hundreds of flags that represent each person that we know of who has been violently killed just simply for being who they are. It's pretty impactful. So if you can do so safely due to COVID, I would encourage you to do so. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Samantha from LGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, I just wanted to reiterate what the others have said so far, but also express our appreciation as the Chamber of Commerce and the transgender community for Salt Lake City making efforts, intentional efforts to be inclusive of diversity. A year ago, during this same ceremony for Transgender Day of Remembrance, I stood in the Capitol and called out to government leaders to please consider the violence we're exposed to and try and make safe places in your communities. And we have seen the city take action this past year. I have worked directly with members of the council. I know Mayor Mendenhall is close to our chairperson, and we've seen great strides despite the rest of the country getting much worse this last year. And so we appreciate this resolution and we appreciate the city's continuing efforts.
Thank you, Sam. It's good to hear from you. And finally, Jonathan Phelp from the Pride Center.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for honoring those that came before us and really bringing light to their memories and know that they will never be forgotten. I really appreciate everyone who's been involved with this week and knowing that the Pride Center is here for those in our community and will always be here. You can learn more about the work and programs that the Pride Center offers at utahpridecenter.org. And thank you so much, everyone, for all of your amazing work and the work that you're doing for our community.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think this is the first resolution that we've done for Transgender Day of Remembrance or that any government entity has done in Utah, and I hope to make it an annual thing. So thanks to everybody, and I appreciate your help in supporting and drafting this resolution. We will go ahead and move on to item A6, which is a joint ceremonial resolution with Mayor Mendenhall recognizing December 1st as World AIDS Day in Salt Lake City. I'll turn the time over now to Councilmember Darren Mono to read that resolution. Councilmember Mono.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joint resolution declaring World AIDS Day in Salt Lake City. Whereas, according to estimates from the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, there are now more than 38 million people throughout the world living with HIV. Of these, 1.8 million are children. 1.7 million new infections occurred among adults and children in 2019 alone. And whereas in Utah, HIV incidence has not seen a significant decrease in new HIV infections when other metropolitan areas have. And whereas in Utah, the rate of new HIV diagnoses with stage 3 infections has not decreased in the last 5 years. And whereas up to 85% of people living with HIV in Utah reside along the Wasatch Front. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, has found that HIV-related stigma has a significant negative impact on people living with HIV, increases new infections, and delays people seeking testing for HIV. And whereas stigma, shame, and fear make people less likely to discuss their sexual health with doctors and often leads to delays in seeking testing for treatment for sexually transmitted infections and HIV, which can have serious long-term health consequences. And whereas, despite rigorous testing of all donated blood, the Food and Drug Administration have yet to rescind its recommendation that blood donation centers turn away members of the LGBTQ community, especially gay men and transgender people, increasing stigma. And whereas the elimination of stigma in Utah will lead to better physical and mental health outcomes for people living with HIV, increased HIV disclosure, increased HIV testing, and decreased HIV infections. And whereas World AIDS Day was established in 1988 and is observed each year on December 1st to provide an opportunity for individuals and communities to take action and help educate for HIV/AIDS prevention, treatment, and care. And whereas Salt Lake City has joined other cities around the world in an effort to increase awareness, reduce stigma, provide education about HIV/AIDS, and demonstrate compassion for those affected by HIV. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Salt Lake City Council and Mayor of Salt Lake City hereby recognize December 1st, 2020 as World AIDS Day in Salt Lake City and encourages all residents to unite together in fight against HIV/AIDS, reduce the stigma of HIV/AIDS, and support those who are living with or have been affected by HIV/AIDS. Be it further resolved, Salt Lake City urges the Food and Drug Administration to rescind its recommendation that blood donation centers turn away donors in the LGBT community based solely on sexual history, since, according to the CDC, all blood for transfusion is tested for evidence of certain infectious disease pathogens such as human immune deficiency virus, HIV. Now I'll turn the time back over to our council chair, Councilmember Wharton.
Thank you, Councilmember Mono. We have, let's see. I'm sorry. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers. Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
And Councilmember Valdemoro says absent. Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously with one councilmember absent. I want to welcome Jared Hafen, Programming Director with the Utah AIDS Foundation, to virtually accept this resolution. Thank you for being here. Jared, do you want to say a few words? Is Jared here? Okay. Well, I don't see him, but if he tunes in later, we'll give him a minute to accept this. But thank you, everybody, and thanks for your support of this. We'll move on to section B of our agenda, which is the public hearing portion. Over the past month, we've made a few changes to how we're handling our hearings, and public comment. So I'll go over that process again. We have returned to our regular formal meeting format by taking comments in the order that each is scheduled publicly. General comments will take place after the scheduled hearing items. We also made a change to help accommodate community members whose only option is to provide comments by phone. We will be accepting public comments through both WebEx, and the staff will be monitoring separate telephone lines in order to include any callers in the meeting. Therefore, you'll be placed in the queue in the order in which you log into the WebEx or in which you call for the public hearing. As we continue joining electronically, we still want to provide a safe space for all those to feel comfortable to participate. To help facilitate our comment period, please be respectful Avoid yelling or making racial slurs, obscene, or defamatory remarks. The council respects all points of view and we welcome new insights. However, using foul language and personal attacks make the public forum uncivil and intimidating for others. In addition to this being a public forum, this meeting is also being broadcast on television and the internet. Because of that, the council has decided to more strictly enforce the use of profanity. If you feel the need to use profanity to express your point, you're welcome to do that by emailing council members or calling and leaving us a voicemail message. Based on that, we've modified our rules a little bit, and this will be considered your advance warning against the use of profanity. If someone uses profanity, we will mute your microphone, and you may forfeit your right to finish your comments. Robert Nutzman from our staff is helping moderate the meeting. He will be messaging with attendees to coordinate. Please monitor the chat screen for information and/or feel free to message our staff with any questions. Again, his name is Robert Nutzman. Amanda Lau will be calling names of those who wish to comment and unmuting their lines. Once we open public comment, Amanda will announce 3 names at a time so that people can have some notice and be prepared to speak. If you do not wish to speak, please message our staff and let them know, or when the host states your name, please let us know that you're just here to listen. When it is your turn to speak, the meeting host will unmute your line. Please state your name and the 2 minutes will begin. At the 2-minute mark, the host will announce time and your microphone will be muted. Of course, if you're unable to complete your full comments within the available time, please feel free to mail the Salt Lake City Council at P.O. Box 145-476, Salt Lake City, Utah 84114-5476. Or you can email us at council.comments@slcgov.com. And finally, you can call our 24-hour phone line, which is 801-535-7654. We have 5 public hearings and a long list of people who wish to comment. So let's begin with our first public hearing, item B1, regarding an ordinance that would create a land use classification to address short-term housing for the terminally ill and seriously ill, also known as eleemosynary care or congregate facilities. Before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to Nick Tarbett, Council Staff Policy Analyst, to give a short introduction. Nick?
We can't hear you, Nick.
Can't hear you, Nick.
Mr. Chair, maybe just go to the hearing. I wonder if Nick's having technical difficulties. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, it sounds like it, but we'll go ahead and move on. I'll just try to briefly state. So this updated proposal includes reviewing compatibility concerns for how this land is used and others like it. It would impact adjacent residential neighborhoods, particularly the inclusionary zoning, or the institutional zoning district. All right, let's go ahead and take our first public comment. Amanda?
Thank you, Council Chair. Currently, we have 3 commenters for this item. We have Jared Arvanitas, followed by Emily Allworth, and then Annie Charles. Jared, you can go ahead.
Sorry, ma'am, I'm just listening.
Oh, thank you, Jared. Next we have Emily Allworth and then Annie Charles. Emily, go ahead. Emily, are you there? One second, Council Chair. Seems we have Annie Charles on the same line as Emily Allworth. Annie, are you there? Oh, here we go. Let's try. Emily, are you there?
Hi, yes.
Oh, good. Sorry, thank you.
No worries. Yeah, I just wanted to air my support for this. I think that it could provide a much needed resource in our community. I'm in support of this.
Yeah, and I'm Annie Charles. I also just wanted to, I made a public comment last week, but I just wanted to say I support expanding. It sounded like it was about the congregate care facilities. I think that's going to be extremely needed right now in our current situation. So thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This feels personal.
Okay. Do we have any other commenters? Okay.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I move that we close the public hearing and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Rogers and a second from Councilmember Mono. Is there any discussion of this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros is absent. Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously with one council member absent. We will go ahead and move on to item B2, which is regarding an ordinance that would create a new land use zone titled Form-Based Urban Neighborhood 3 and rezone the 10-acre city block known as Fleet Block located between 300 and 400 West and between 800 and 900 South from public land and general commercial to Form-Based Urban Neighborhood 3. I want to start by taking a point of personal privilege and let the community know that the council has been listening to the concerns that we've heard at the last several meetings that we had. We've heard that this area has become a community gathering place and that it has helped many come together to help and to heal. We've heard that the community wants this space to be saved and secured for the future. We've heard that the community wants this to be more than just apartments and businesses, and that a portion of the block should be set aside for true public access and community benefit. Some council members have had additional conversations with community members or are planning to have those conversations in the next few days. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to meet with advocates and family members of some of the people depicted in the murals, and I committed to them that I would share with my colleagues the concerns and ideas that they expressed. I want to report that I did follow through and share that information with all my peers on the City Council. The Council has long wanted open space and parks to be part of the future development of this block. We believe that park space brings added value to the redevelopment of this property. We know that this area of the city needs to have open space, and we will work to make sure that it's part of the plan so that it can continue to be a community gathering space. The council is committed to working with the community to ensure their vision is part of the planning of this block, and specifically how the park and open space is designed for the community. We have the time to do this right. We will have future briefings and time to talk with the administration about how best to pursue open space and make sure that that's a guaranteed part of future development, and also to preserve the community gathering place on this block. This may include changing the size or scope of the rezone. We will inform the public as soon as we have a date figured out so that they can tune into the conversation and provide feedback. Whereas the city owns this property, we have many options to guarantee that this will happen. Thank you for your patience as we work towards an outcome that incorporates many goals for the future development and growth of this area of our city. Now, before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to Nick, possibly.
Mr. Chair, I think he was trying to get his audio to work, but I'll fill in. So you covered most of it, but I'll just say that just from a technical perspective, this is the second scheduled public hearing. The administration has recently provided the responses to some of the questions that the council's raised during the first work session briefing. And like you said, a follow-up briefing will be scheduled to go over the responses and talk about paths forward. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, would you please start the public comment?
Yes, thank you, Council Chair. Currently, I see that we have 25 names for this item. The first three are Beverly Hawkins, followed by Mary Castellanos, and then Ray Duckworth. Beverly, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, and I'm heartened by the introductory comments. I spoke last week in support of maintaining the murals on the buildings in this block, and today I would like to speak to another aspect of these murals. I understand that those who created the murals did so with the intent to mourn the dead and fight for the living, and I support that. But in order for the murals to be sustained, I believe they need to be broadly embraced by the community. For that to happen, they might also need to stand for the healing that should take place from all corners, beyond the healing of the families and community of friends directly related to the victims represented. I believe there are many who want to support the police, but are very concerned when they hear and see instances of policing that seem out of control and unnecessarily violent. Healing is needed for them. And I suspect there are members of law enforcement who feel a similar conflict. Recognizing instances of overzealous and sometimes biased policing should not mean we can't also acknowledge that police officers sometimes work under difficult and dangerous circumstances, and they have a duty to protect the public and themselves. Perhaps these murals could be the beginning of the path to this broader healing, a path leading us to understand how and why such violence exists and what can be done to calm tensions and diminish this violence. I would like to see the efforts around fighting for the living expanded to looking for ways that we as a community, a large and diverse community, can agree on what kind of community we want for our future, especially regarding law enforcement. I've been observing the meetings of the Racial Equity and Policing Commission and believe they are on one such path towards the change we need. My hope is that we can use the loss and sadness and the love represented in these murals to work towards building a safer future for everyone, and that this block can be the focus for those efforts. Thank you for your continued work on this.
Next, we have Mary Castellanos, followed by Ray Duckworth, and then Gina Thane. Mary, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I really hope that we don't lose this spot. Sorry. My brother Joey Tucker is one of the many murals of lives that we've lost. The day Joey was murdered was the worst day of my life. It changed me forever. It never gets easier, ever. I love the murals. Our loved ones are not forgotten. We have a peaceful place to visit them and share our stories. We have formed new friendships through the darkest times in our life. I am so grateful to everyone who has helped so that our loved ones are not forgotten, those who lend a listening ear or a shoulder to cry on. So I'm asking to please help us save these and not take them away. That's all I have. Sorry.
Thank you, Mary. Next, we have Ray Duckworth, followed by Gina Thane, and then Derek Dyer. Ray, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
With gained understanding after speaking with a couple of the city council people, I believe what they call Fleet Block is still a perfect fit for a resource community center. I understand the city has to focus on the profit or revenue of this space, and I don't personally agree with that should be the main focus, because the community connection should be the priority in a city with one of the highest rates of police violence and police murder. I also understand that the community and nearby businesses enjoy the murals as a connection to the community members and their stories. Plus, the local businesses are constantly being supported. Today, I hope our council people come together on one agreement, and it would be to defer any action. I hope they close this whole conversation of rezoning the police brutality mural space in hopes for the community to gain trust in the council people and also gain trust in the community to build a safe space. Rezoning this property isn't necessary for any of the ideas currently being discussed on Fleet Block, and Salt Lake doesn't need any more tall towers. We need a community space filled with support, love, and security. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. Next comment.
Next, we have Gina Thane, followed by Derek Dyer, and then Jesse Salas. Gina, go ahead.
Hi. my loved one is also on that wall, and I have voiced many times how much healing and hope that those murals bring to us. This has nothing to do with the police or us against them. It has to do with the people that we lost and the community lost as a whole, a total reminder of that. I mentioned that, yes, we can go to the grave and we can memorialize a grave, but when we look at that grave, that cold dirt laying there, we see nothing but the tragedy, the brutality, and the worst memory anybody could ever imagine that will never leave us. Please don't ever touch those murals. They bring together people and they give us hope. We have other ways of working with the police to try and make positive change to help our communities so that this doesn't ever happen to anybody else. But the most healing thing that any one of us families can do is see a good memory of our loved one lit up so everyone will always remember them. Police officers have support, and they have love, and they have committees, and they have groups and resources to help them. Us families have no resources. And regardless of why that person may have made it on that wall, whether there was a crime or not a crime, they left behind somebody that loved them, more than one person that loved them, and they don't have any support. We support one another, and we give each other hope. We help each other rise up. That place would be a wonderful place to keep for all of the community to share, to house the homeless or have a resource center in there, something positive that gives that community.
Thank you for your comments, Gina.
Next, we have Derek Dyer, followed by Jesse Salas, and then Janet Alcala. Derek, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. So I know a lot of you know me. My name is Derek Dyer. I'm an artist and the executive director of the Utah Arts Alliance. I'm also the chair of the Utah Cultural Alliance. I would like to echo a lot of the other statements that have been put out. I would suggest putting off any rezone right now. I would be in favor of creating a community advisory committee to identify partners and ideas and opportunities with this site. When I look at this site, I see a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous solution to a lot of problems that are happening in our city right now. Frankly, I feel like our city is losing its heart and soul. Artists especially are being gentrified out of Salt Lake City. We cannot compete with the developers, and developers are being given opportunities hand over fist, but our local community nonprofit groups are going out of business. We're struggling. And so I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us to create something for the community. I'd love to see a locals only block here with open space, park space, resources for the homeless, protecting the murals, adding more murals. One of the things the Utah Arts Alliance does is we do Mural Fest in South Salt Lake City. We have a process and procedures for protecting public art murals, and so we would be happy to take on that role with this place. But I just think that this is a wonderful opportunity for the city, and there are plenty of apartment buildings going up. I could drive around town and point to where concert venues used to be, where restaurants that were around for 50 years used to be, and all we have, you know, in their places, we have a lot of apartments coming up now. We need more community spaces. We need more spaces for our nonprofit community and especially for artists. So I would be happy to serve on an advisory committee, and I recommend that that's the direction we should go next on this project. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Derek. Next commenter.
Next, we have Jesse Salas, followed by Janet Alcala, and then Tim Dyer. Jesse, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for the initial comments in the beginning. I just wanted to plead, you know, like we have been, I want to echo what's been said, and to piggyback off of what Ray said about all of the local businesses that are around the murals thrive when there are open spaces and parks, and especially something like these murals. The focus shouldn't be on making money or making it profitable, but I understand that, some people always think about that. And if you think about that, that area could use so well something like a park and a community center, because when you have people there, you have people buying food and getting just all kinds of things. And so it's a place for people to thrive as well. And I appreciate that you are putting the thought and effort to listen to the communities, because this is, as you can hear, it is more than just a building. It's more than just a plot. It's more than so many people can understand. And not only that, but watching Salt Lake, the world watches when these things happen. The world has seen some really awful things come out of our area with police brutality, and this kind of action for the community would be something that the world can look at and see, hey, Salt Lake does listen to its people. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks for your comments.
Next, we have Janet Alcala, followed by Tim Dyer, and then Kane Cutts. Janet, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
I would like to also speak in support of Bray and others before me who have talked about the importance of not commercializing this land. Like, I'm definitely not in support of changing the zoning that would allow more gentrification of my neighborhood. I've lived in Glendale and Poplar Grove for the past 20 years, and I can tell you that more gentrification is not what we need in our community. If you pay attention, if you look and watch closely at what's happening at the murals, we're trying to show you what we want to have happen in our neighborhood. All right, number one, we want an end to police brutality. Our neighborhoods on the west side are most, unfortunately, our neighborhoods have been dramatically traumatized by repeated police brutality that happens in our neighborhoods. We want that to end. We're very serious about it. It's a bold statement with those murals of how we feel and what we want to see in our neighborhood. The second thing is that we are longing to heal and build community together. Not only do these murals represent the lives of people who have passed on through violence, it's also become a meeting place where we come together to care for one another. And yes, that includes the unsheltered. We want every single person in our neighborhood to matter and to be cared for. And we have taken it upon ourselves as people living in these neighborhoods to care for them. We want more space to be able to do that. I really would urge you to pay attention to what's happening here, because we're showing you what we want our neighborhoods to look like and to feel like. Healing, growth, community, taking care of one another. We don't need more gentrification. We want healing and community. There's a Mexican saying that says, the rich take care of the rich.
I'm sorry, that's time. You can go ahead and email the rest of your comments to us or contact the phone line that I gave at the beginning. Let's move on to our next commenter.
Next, we have Tim Dyer, followed by Kane Cutts, and then Anna Elledge. Tim, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Great. I represent both the Granary District Alliance, which is a collective of local businesses in the Granary District where the Fleet Block is centrally located, and also Fisher Brewing Company, which is right across the street from these murals. I certainly I've spoken with my other board members on the GDA, and we'd like to echo these concerns that destroying or removing these murals would be a loss to the community. And we, the Granary District Alliance, support the idea of using the fleet block, at least a good portion of it, for a community space, a green space. This is something that is lacking in the neighborhood, especially as additional development happens around it. And that we would support additional motions in this direction where we would have green space, open space that focuses around the murals. We, the Granary District Alliance, have been working with the RDA in the Granary District for a public mural project, a public-private mural project for some time. We view it as part of the identity of the neighborhood to have street art, and we would like to continue to promote that as a core of the Granary District. I do think that we have an opportunity here with these murals to further cement that we are a public art district, that we promote this sort of thing, and this is a safe place for people to gather to do this. And then commenting as a business owner who is immediately across the street from this, I mean, we see this every day as a source of community healing and a very important thing to look at going forward. How can we preserve this aspect of what the fleet block has become? And I do think there is a very good overlap between this being a public space that people can use both for healing and for recreation. It can provide an amenity to the district as a whole. And I do think that I applaud the council's pumping the brakes on the going ahead with the form-based code. We've issued a letter, the Granary District has, on some other issues related to parking. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Kane Cutts, followed by Anna Elledge, and then Tash for the people. Kane, go ahead.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So, like I was introduced, my name is Kane Cutts, and my wife and I have lived in the Granary District neighborhood for the last 3.5 years, 2.5 of which have been directly across the street from the block that you guys call the fleet block. I can literally look outside my apartment window right now and give you an update on what is going on the west side of that block. So anytime during this meeting, if anybody wants an update on that west side of the block, just let me know. So until recently, since my wife and I have moved to this neighborhood, we have been looking forward to the day that this block that we are discussing today to be repurposed to something like residential/commercial. That could be to the benefit of more than just the city and the few businesses that are run out of this block. For the most part, to me, it is just a cement block that has benefited you. I've seen police trainings here, a school for semi-drivers, and a couple of other businesses that I'm unaware of what their business is. The greater neighborhood is quickly developing with new businesses and other mixed residential buildings. I love this neighborhood, and I don't think I want to live anywhere else within Salt Lake City. Recently, though, this block has become a rallying point for the community and surrounding neighborhoods. The local community took this pretty useless lot, as far as most is aware, to a community resource and a reminder of the struggles that a lot of the locals have experienced, which is incarceration and police brutality. I'm so proud of the organizers who have taken the memories of those who have lost their lives to police brutality into beautiful artwork and a space that hosts events to feed the community and unsheltered, and a space and reminder of what still needs to be changed. I do not think this fleet block should stay the same. I would love to see new businesses and residential areas created in this space that me and my wife would like to, I don't know, step foot on someday. But similar to many others, I am suspicious that the city intends to develop this block for the benefits of others outside of this community through tearing down and forgetting the memories, good and bad.
Thanks for your comments.
Next, we have Anna Elledge, followed by Tash, and then Kristen Nippenberg. Sorry. Anna, go ahead. Anna Elledge, your mic is unmuted. we'll go ahead and move with the next person. See if we can catch Anna. Next, we have Tash, followed by Kristen Nippenberg, and then Ashley. Tash, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I just want to echo the statements from the other members of the city that expressed their concerns of wanting to postpone the rezoning well into 2021 at the very least. Give the community some time to develop a plan, give the community some time to come together and figure out what we exactly want the space to look like. We've expressed, it seems like Chris gets it. We want this place to be a resource center. We want this place to bring life and be a safe space for police brutality victims, for BIPOC, for marginalized people. I appreciate Chris sitting down and listening to people and relaying that message pretty accurately. I asked the other city council members to do the same. Reach out to the community and ask them and listen to them what they want. We will tell you over and over again that we, just like you, want to bring life to the space. You guys are gentrifying this space. There's no denying that. But this time, instead of pushing people of color out of the space, let's bring people of color into the space. Well, that's a side effect of gentrification. You raise taxes, you raise property value, and push the people of color out. Instead, make the space as accessible to people of color. Make a resource center and a resource center and the murals a requirement when you are talking about redeveloping, like you're saying the park has to be a requirement in the space. Make the resource center also a requirement in the space. I also want to say that I love the resolution that was brought in the beginning of the meeting for the LGBT community. I love that, and it's overdue. I would love to see the same sentiment and efforts put towards people of color in condemning white supremacy, in condemning racism, and a resolution put forward that Salt Lake City is going to be a place, is going to make a statement for people of color, and finally give some acknowledgement to them. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Next, we have Kristen Nippenberg, followed by Ashley, and then Nora Lang. Kristen, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Kristen, and I'd like to follow up on what Tosh was just talking about how there are people in the community who know what they want to do with this space. Even if they, some of them have come forward, some of them have proposed alternatives. I too am against the rezoning of this parcel for all of the reasons already voiced. The art, the truth-telling, the healing space that it's become, the memorial to hopes for the future. I propose for now that you do not change the zoning for this parcel and rather keep it as zoned for public lands. I propose that you enter into an agreement with community organizers to maintain the space as the emergent memorial and gathering space it has become. It is a space that has been improved and made more valuable by the community themselves for the community. And after many years of police brutality culminating in this past long and contentious summer, it would be an act of good faith to support and affirm the community's expression of its values in this space. I would, at a minimum, propose that you will not unilaterally change the zoning and hold off on that for now. Keep it as public lands, allow community members to come forward, enter into a memorandum of agreement with them, and allow them the primary input into how the space is developed over time. Thank you.
Next, we have Ashley, followed by Nora Lang, and then Arturo Gamboa. Ashley, go ahead.
Hi there. I'm encouraged by Councilmember Wharton's opening comments. Thank you so much for saying that. Basically, my first city council meeting I attended was when I was 16. The city was trying to tear down the Sugar House block on 11th East, a special place for my adolescence. And it feels like now at 34, we're still kind of dealing with some similar issues and trying to keep the special places that we care the most about. Historically, Salt Lake City Council has taken keen interest in controlling and co-opting these most special places in our city. There's also many examples in which after they've destroyed a community landmark, their plans of financial gain and grandeur and then fail, and then the neighborhood sits with a useless eyesore in the place of what once was a glorious and unique community space. There are many unused or failed properties like this on display currently in our city for all to see. The dirt pit on State Street between 3rd and 4th South, the public safety building on 2nd South, Tenema View, and I already said Sugar House, so that was a tragedy. The murals are another project built for and by the community in a direct response to our need to grieve and organize against the continuous killing of our neighbors and community members by employees of the city who falsely claim to serve and protect us. This has been a beautiful and intimate, nonviolent response to this crisis. The healing our community continually receives in this place could not come from the city who themselves endorse and maintain the current system in which these slayings are wholly justified and paid for. We made this for ourselves and we need it. Please know that your move to rezone and thereby commercialize this plot of land now, after it sat for 10 years unused, reads loud and clear. Please know that we fully understand that your move to pass this building on to a rich developer now is a denial of your ability to acknowledge what you have done to our people, our community, our neighbors, and loved ones. Please know that we understand that your desire to rezone this property is your shirking of responsibility.
Time.
Thanks for your comments. You can, if you have more comments, you can email those or give us a call at the contact information I provided.
Next, we have Nora Lang, followed by Arturo Gamboa, and then Misty Okimoto. Nora, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I would like to echo many of the things that have been said before, and especially the speaker that spoke right before me. I would like to really amplify that message. And yeah, I'd just like to say that I have really valued this space in the what we've been going through as a community for the last several months, and thinking about losing these murals and this space that the community rallied so hard for to build another apartment building in the city. I can't even count how many cranes are downtown right now, and the police in this state have shot more than 19 people this year. And taking these murals down is a blatant erasure of what's happening. And not only is it erasure, but it's taking away pretty violently this, what we've heard all of these people saying as this place for people to come together and mourn and heal and grieve. And to not have that space hits really hard, and to have the city take away that space now feels pretty brutal. And I would like to say that I echo comments before to at least defer this zoning and preferably not rezone it at all. Thanks.
Next, we have Arturo Gamboa. I see Misty Okimoto has left. After that, we have Antonio Bibi, and then Save Murals. Arturo, go ahead.
Hello, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
All right, wonderful. My name is Arturo Gamboa. I'm not going to waste any time. This source, the fact that we're having this discussion is despicable. But that doesn't surprise me.
It's a little hard to hear you, Arturo. Could you, I'm sorry.
Come through clear? Am I coming through?
Yeah, we can hear you now. It just,
yes.
it sounded like wind or something. So go ahead and continue.
Okay. Pretty much, we demand the preservation of the murals as if you're going to refuse to take significant action against police brutality and the reasons why those faces are on that block in the first place. And the very least that you all could do with our tax dollars is listen to your community members who want better resources for our community members, who want better resources for our unsheltered families, and better resources for those that you have gone out of your way to destroy with police brutality. Thank you.
Next, we have Antonio Bibi, followed by Save Mural, and then Ethan Shaw. Antonio, go ahead.
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, just stop the rezoning, stop the rezoning, stop the rezoning now. Keep the current zoning of the property how it is. This belongs to the people. It belongs to the community. Respect the victims of police brutality. May all of them rest in power. Justicia para todos. Justice for the hood. To rezone the property is an obvious sneak attack on the people. It is obvious what the intentions are. That's how we've seen y'all putting foul cards time after time. Gentrification and brutality go hand in hand. We will not allow for the murals and the property to be demolished, and we will not allow for the rezoning to occur. Why now? Instead of y'all gentrifying the city, y'all should be defunding the police. Listen to the people, people. Chicano power, black and brown is beautiful. Stop gentrification, stop the rezoning now. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Next, we have Save Murals, followed by Ethan Shaw, and then Maggie Cuts. And I also got word Misty Okimoto is going to try to come back. Save Murals, you're unmuted.
Save Murals, before you start, we need your name.
Hey, this is Marvin, Chris. I talked to you yesterday. Cody Belgard's brother. Yes.
Hi. Thank you, Marvin.
Check. Yeah, it's on my email. It's my email address. You could go ahead and start my time now. What I'll start off by saying is, I did appreciate your opening statement, Chris, as well. What I didn't hear in there, or what I did hear was open space, park space, green space, but what I didn't hear is preservation of the murals that are existing. So I hope that was the intent within that opening statement as well. But what I'll also continue on to say is, from our meeting yesterday, what was discussed and what you expressed your concern was community input. Community input that you had expressed been input as far as 10 years back. What we need to consider today is the nuances and the dynamics of today's environment, which is the escalation of police brutality and police violence over the last 10 years and even prior to that. So when we talk about Salt Lake City being a city of innovation, innovation also means adaptation. So I would suspect that adaptation and innovation would be part of this consideration. Some of the stuff discussed yesterday was stopping the rezoning, and what you had expressed within the opening statement as downsizing the rezoning. What I would propose is that we stop the rezoning and defer any action. But when you talk about community input, you talked about folks maintaining engagement, moving forward, this, that, and the other in this input. But what I haven't seen in a lot of this public engagement is those people that you expressed wanted something different than what those are expressing today and over the past few weeks. And what I have heard from the community, one being small businesses that are currently in the area, another being the Granary District Alliance, which is representatives of that area, and some of the other stakeholders being police brutality victims' families and loved ones. So those are the community that I would hope you all would consider, and that you would think have more stake in what happens with that area and that building and those murals specifically, as opposed to maybe what the broader conversation you may be considering is maybe statewide or even outside of the Salt Lake thing.
Thank you, Marvin.
Next, we have Ethan Shaw, followed by Maggie Coots, and then keeping a lookout for Misty Okimoto, who had to restart her computer. Ethan, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I also would just like to echo my desire that these murals be preserved and for the zoning of this area to not change. Rezoning this space for the sake of gentrification and eliminating these murals from the public eye would be of the high to these families of these victims of police brutality, and every single individual around the world who knows that the murdering of our citizens by our quote-unquote authorities is not the answer to anything that these victims of brutality may have been doing at the time. Silence, in my opinion, is the greatest form of violence, and silencing these murals would be in the greatest disrespect to humanity. Qualified immunity must be ended in police. No one should have qualified immunity for anything. And any officer who has demonstrated brutality in the past needs to experience consequences for their actions. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Next, we have Maggie Coots. Go ahead, Maggie.
Hi, I would just like to echo all of the comments before me. I currently live across the street from these murals, and they are a super important part of our community, and they've become a massive community center that has been kind of a grassroots upbringing, and I would encourage that to continue to happen. I do appreciate the council taking into serious consideration as to whether that area should be a green space or not. I would just like to put in input that if it is a green space, that I would recommend it being named after Bernardo Palacios. He was murdered by police across the street, and I think if we were to keep the murals up as they are, which I recommend that we do, and we put a green space inside, that it would be fitting to name the park after him. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter.
Council Chair, I don't see that Misty Okimoto has been able to rejoin yet. Checking in how you'd like to proceed.
Is Misty's our last commenter? There's nobody else?
That's right.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to have to move on. I'm sorry, but Misty, you can definitely share your comments with us still at the email address and the phone number that I gave previously.
Council Chair, sorry to interrupt. We have one more individual who is wanting to speak to this. She just messaged me, Mary Ann Rojas. So
Okay.
to speak to this item as well.
Okay, Misty, you got 2 minutes to tune in if you can hear this. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Council Chair. Marianne, you are unmuted. Go ahead.
You have heard enough. You already know that the murals are a sacred place for the community. Building a park will accommodate upper and middle income class you think will rebuild Salt Lake City's economy, channeled by your revamped airport. We're not dumb. Do not treat us like we're dumb. In fact, there is substantial research speaking to how parks are historically conceptualized, built, managed by upper and middle class white males with primary interest to create a safe recreation space for middle and upper class white women and children by demarcating racial and class boundaries. The history of park systems are also marked by similar patterns of racial oppression, promoting the overt violence of separate but equal doctrine that still prevails in nuanced ways through environmental racism and religious ideologies in Salt Lake City. The systematic racism that creates foundations for public spaces are so evident here. For one, we live in a city surrounded by mountains. Why not create an intervention to help families access the natural environment? Invest in communities who are dragging their belongings from corner to corner. The more homelessness we have here is just a reflection of what you have not done. Is this how you intend to drive community members out? Where are they going? Every public space has a distinctive function, management practice, funding mechanisms, and user groups. Each public space needs its own strategy to promote diversity and inclusion within their community context. Community involvement is the initial and the continuum of the process. Community-based research suggests that long-term solutions for better health outcomes are found within community, not the ones who hold the torch of judgment. And to be sure that this doesn't go unmentioned, because here in Utah, people think they can't see color, racist ideology and white normality have been deeply entrenched in the social and political fabric of our homes. The moves you think are applicable are not anti-racist. The homogeneous patterns that are created, facilitated, and marked by parks perpetuate pipelines of systematic racist market for homelessness. The spending of millions of dollars are in question here. Housing in a city with dead people and no one able to afford it. I'm still confused.
All right, we received those comments. Do we have Misty?
Council Chair, we do not have Misty.
Okay. I'm sorry, Misty. We did paste the information on how to contact us in the chat. That's our last commenter. Council members, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the council close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, then I'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers? Is that a yes? Sorry. Okay, yes. Thank you. Yep. Councilmember Johnston?
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros is absent. Councilmember Mono?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler?
Yes. Yes.
And thank you. And I'm a yes as well. That's unanimous with one absent. We will move on to budget amendment, or excuse me, our next hearing item, which is on budget amendment number 4 for fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Before taking public comments, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Ben Ludke from the council staff. Short introduction. Then turn the time.
Budget Amendment 4 is over $6 million, and there are 28 individual items. Almost all of these items relate to how the city is spending the second round of federal CARES Act funding. The administration's recommendations, the council staff report, and several supporting documents are in the agenda packet, including some recent updates from the past few days. This is the second public hearing, and the council may take action on this item tonight.
Thank you, Ben. Let's go ahead and open up the comment period, Amanda.
Thank you, Council Chair. We have Rhonda Uber, followed by Ray Duckworth, and then Tash. Here we go. Rhonda, go ahead.
And good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, thank you. My name is Rhonda Uber, and I am the Facilities and Events Manager for a facility downtown, and we're with the Episcopal Church Center of Utah, as well as St. Mark's Episcopal Church. So we are at the heart of downtown, and we have had the great pleasure of interacting with the ambassador program over the last 18 months. And I can say that they have been an asset beyond belief. They help us in so many different ways, and I have witnessed them serve the community beyond what most people would not see. So, for example, they help in the morning, help check the area, because we do have a preschool, a nonprofit preschool. They help check the area to make sure that everybody feels safe. So they just walk around and they connect with individuals. They also help with Hildegard's pantries, with distributing food and making that distribution also safe, and they're connecting with individuals who are in need of food. They also are constantly connecting with individuals who are experiencing homelessness and who are unsheltered. Today, I can tell you, I had 2 situations where they were on the phone trying to connect 2 individuals to try and get them into some programs so that they could get some help. And in fact, we've lined one up for him to get in tomorrow. And I mean, they work closely with other organizations, VOA, CCP, the police. I mean, they're a partnership. I mean, they are true ambassadors. They help calm some people down when they're in crisis.
Time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rhonda. Next commenter.
Next, we have Ray Duckworth, followed by Tash, and then Marvin. Ray, go ahead.
Hi, my sound cut out. This is Amendment 4, right? I'm so sorry.
Yes, Budget Amendment 4.
Okay, so it was my understanding that they were going to increase the budget for police to, quote, clean up the unsheltered. I've now been educated a little bit more about what's kind of going on with the word choice. So I understand that the word choice was poor, and they actually want to increase the budget to focus on public restrooms and extra resources for the unsheltered. So if that's true in that amendment, I will support that. I think that's a lovely idea. That's one of the points that they need. That is actually one of the criteria that they ask for when we're out there and we're doing community outreaches. The community neighbors, so I'll support any of the public facilities that they have access to, as long as the unsheltered family members also have access. So that's my touch on Amendment 4.
Thank you, Ray. Next commenter.
Oh, yes, next we have Tash, followed by Marvin, and then Sarah Stone. Tash, go ahead.
The name is Tosh for the People. You've been stating it correctly. I don't know why it changed, but Tosh for the People, period. Start my time now.
Can we get your last name too? Just for the record.
Well,
So
I'm going to no, Mr. Chair.
So for
yes. Sorry, hold on, Tash. What? Yes.
The record requires first and last names.
Tosh, last name for the people.
Tosh, if you wouldn't mind giving us, we do need your name because we always ask people to give their names, whether it's in person or they're calling in, or that information so that we can contact you and so we can have a complete record. If you could please give us your name, we would really appreciate it.
My full name.
I'm sorry?
I am not comfortable giving my full name.
Okay.
There's a telephone line that can remain anonymous as an option, Mr. Chair.
Why is this an issue now where it's been an issue for the past 5 meetings I've been into?
Well, it typically is something that we would require, but we're trying to be adhering more to the rules because of issues that we've had come up since we've moved to this online format.
Okay.
So
let's start mandating that next meeting, but it hasn't been mandated this meeting, so we can start that next meeting.
Okay, I'm fine with that. But so in the future, if you want to make anonymous comments, you can do that on the phone line. Go ahead and make your comment.
All right, thank you. So I want to echo what Ray said. So previously the verbiage was homeless camp cleanup, and then today's meeting, you guys did clarify that the wording was wrong, and it said instead you want to call it environmental cleanup, but still said that the goal is to clean up the community and make it look nice because, you know, blah, blah, blah businesses or whoever's complaining. You did mention that part of the money would be going towards resources such as like toilets and stuff like that. But anything that's not talking about rehabilitation, not talking about giving sustainability, and resources, I don't want to be a part of, especially for funding like this. I think you guys need to start focusing more on longevity rather than putting a Band-Aid on a situation. These public restrooms and stuff that you brought up are not even open 24/7, and you had mentioned that you'd have police there like hold or making sure things were safe or whatever. I do not agree that police should be there, be the ones to try to keep the peace. They never keep the peace. They don't know how to do so. So I ask that they be removed from anything regarding the unsheltered. And again, I just want to echo, look towards longevity, giving housing, giving resources, job placement. Those are the better ways to use this money than trying to push unsheltered folks and anything like that. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next commenter.
Next, we have Marvin.
So, Marvin, are you comfortable sharing your last name?
Yes, Marvin Oliveros, Cody Belgard's brother, Justice Cody, as always.
Thank you.
So are you going to start my time now? Because I got a stopwatch as well.
Yes, go ahead and start now.
Oh, okay. Well, what I'll say is it sounds like part of this budget amendment, our budget proposal, has to do with what you guys have now termed today as some sort of toilet facilities and hopefully trash facilities and things like that. So what I'd say with that is if that is the case, what we do know has been used for at this point years is the Salt Lake City Police working with the Salt Lake County Health Department on these camp abatements, these camp raids. They've been doing it under the conversation and context of hygiene and unsanitary conditions. So if you guys do approve this budget, and if you guys do provide resources like toilets, garbage, hand wash stations, things like that, I would hope you would omit the Salt Lake County Health Department from conducting these raids and eliminate them from conducting these raids. Because at that point, if you guys are investing resources into these sanitation conditions and the Salt Lake County Health Department is deeming them unsatisfactory, that's your responsibility to make sure they're satisfactory, whether that means you implement more at more locations, you maintain them more, and all that sort of stuff. So what I would say is the contingency of this budget being that you eliminate Salt Lake County Health Department from this equation and eliminate them raiding these camps, because what you're proposing paying for now is the argument they've been working under for, at this point, years. And we understand it's a front. We understand it's about law enforcement going in there, but they need Salt Lake County Health Department to do that because of the court ruling, the district court rulings in District 9 and 10 that are currently being heard by the Supreme Court are on docket to be heard by the Supreme Court. So if you guys implement this budget, that means you need to eliminate the Salt Lake County Health Department raiding these camps, because if they're saying they're unsanitary, they'd be unsanitary because your guys' lack of support for them. Even though you have this budget, that would require you guys to do more in order to eliminate that argument from the Salt Lake County Health Department. And as always, FT.
Okay. We'll move on to the next commenter.
Next, we have Sarah Stone. Sarah, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, part of the funding is to expand funding for downtown ambassadors, and I represent Wonder Bloom, which is a preschool located downtown at 2nd East and 1st South. We've experienced an increase in loitering, unsheltered encampments, property damage, and harassment in the last 6 months, and several times a week we call on the downtown ambassadors to help us with these issues. They are always quick to respond and deal with the situation, often arriving within 5 minutes. We feel safe running a preschool downtown because the ambassadors are so responsive. In fact, last month, a man high on drugs attempted to violently break into the preschool while children and staff were present. We sheltered in place and called 911 right away. After 15 minutes, when the police failed to show up, we called the downtown ambassadors. They came quickly, arriving even before the police, and let us know that the man was no longer a threat, so we could let the children out from the shelter in place location. So please expand funding for the downtown ambassadors. They are crucial in keeping the young children safe in this downtown preschool. And in light of the movement to decrease police brutality and shootings, the downtown ambassadors are a very viable and positive option to replace 911 calls because they are equipped to de-escalate situations, yet they don't carry firearms. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Next commenter.
Council, that was our last commenter for this item.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document as requested by the administration. I would point out, if I may, Mr. Chair, take just a moment that based on our conversations in the work session this afternoon and clarification regarding E20, that has been reworded in what we talked about in the work session to the Clean Neighborhoods program, which, as we heard in the work session, again, is having an attendee, porta potties, trash pickup, just that stuff. So we noted it from what we learned and changed that in the motion hearing. And so that has been updated.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Fowler. We have a motion from Councilmember Fowler, a second from Councilmember Rogers. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros is absent. Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously with one absent. We'll proceed to item B4, which is regarding a budget amendment to budget amendment number 5 for fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to Ben Ludke again from council staff to give us a short introduction.
Budget amendment number 5 is over $49 million. Most of this is for two items, $20.5 million for the next issuance of the voter-approved streets reconstruction bond, and $15 million for the landfill construction budget, which will be reimbursed to the city. There are 36 items in total. The administration's proposal, the council staff report, and supporting documents are in the agenda packet. And as mentioned during the briefing earlier today, a revised recommendation from the administration is on the way. The first council briefing was earlier today. A second briefing may be held in December, and this is the second public hearing. The council is scheduled to take action in December.
Thank you, Ben. Amanda, if you'll open up the public comments.
Sure thing, Council Chair. We have one commenter, Marvin Oliveros. Go ahead.
I'll defer my time on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. If there are no other commenters, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Chair. Oh, sorry, Councilmember Fowler.
That's okay.
Ladies first.
No, go ahead, Councilmember Rogers.
I was just going to say I would like to make a motion that we close the public hearing and refer the item to a future date for action.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rogers and a second from Councilmember Fowler. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros is absent. Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
And Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously with one absence. That brings us to item number B5, which is an ordinance that would make changes to the city's demolition ordinance. Before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to, I'm guessing Jen, or is Nick? Nick, how are you doing?
Hopefully you can hear me this time, Mr. Chair.
Oh, you're back. Welcome back. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you. So the council will hold a continued public hearing on the city's demolition ordinance. 2 public hearings have already been held. The proposed changes are intended to streamline the process for demolitions, remove the requirement for a replacement use, landscape plan and bond, and provide clarity to the enforcement process for boarded buildings. The council initiated this petition in 2016 based on feedback that the current ordinance had unintentionally created blight and nuisance issues in city neighborhoods and was difficult to navigate and administer. Because the council has already held 2 public hearings, you have the option to adopt the ordinance tonight if you so choose.
Thank you, Nick. Amanda, if you'll open up the public comments.
Sure thing. We have Janet Hemming, followed by Nigel Swaby, and then Marvin Oliveros. Janet, go ahead.
Thank you, Council Chair Wharton and other honorable council members. My comments really are 2 questions. If approved, my understanding is these new regulations will equally apply to all neighborhoods throughout Salt Lake, meaning a unique turn-of-the-century home in Yale or Harvard Avenues will be treated by the same standard, these new rules, as a dangerous or boarded building in the inner city. There will be no performance bond, no landscaping requirements, and no public notice that will again apply to these treasured homes. And then my second question and comment is yes or no. These regulations would also apply to homes currently protected in a local historic district, of which there are 6 in Salt Lake. If these 2 things are true, it will have a terrible consequence to Salt Lake's intact neighborhoods and open the door, I believe, to greater destruction of some of Salt Lake's most treasured and historically important houses and neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, we have Nigel Swaby, followed by Marvin Oliveros, and then Cindy Cromer. Nigel, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Nigel Swaby. Thank you, council members, for hearing my comments tonight. I was approached a couple weeks ago by Salt Lake PD, a community officer, who told me that there is another alternative to this, and that is a nuisance demolition. I've shared that with a developer that I'm working with on a property that is a nuisance, and they said it would actually be easier. They got this feedback from planning, is it would be easier to actually for the city council to pass this amendment because it takes so long to even go through a nuisance amendment. We know that a lot of what is going on with the demolition amendment was kind of a knee-jerk reaction by a previous council for the property in Sugar House. And I urge you to pass this new amendment that would allow demolition that is needed on boarded and vacant property. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nigel.
Seems Marvin Oliveros has left, so our last commenter on this item is Cindy Cromer. Cindy, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. If John Williams were still alive, he could tell us which dilapidated buildings could become economic drivers in our community. He did so for decades with unswerving accuracy. In John's absence, we have to realize that we will make mistakes. The pendulum always swings, and it spends very little time in a stable place. The existing requirements are beyond burdensome. I have experienced them. but sending structures with potential to the landfill is beyond wasteful. The way to find the balance is to reevaluate the effects of this change in 2 years. And I ask you to do that, to make a point of looking at the results in 2 years. Please do not allow the pendulum to swing as wildly as it has in the past. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Cindy.
Council, that was our last commenter on this item.
Thank you for everyone who commented. I will now look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt the ordinance. I further move that the council adopt the following legislative intents, which are outlined in the staff report and include vacant and boarded buildings study, potential disproportionate fee schedule for vacant and boarded buildings, and city NRDA purchase of nuisance properties for affordable housing. Do I need to read all of the text?
No.
Okay.
No, you do not.
But I second that. Not that you read all the text. I second your motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I've got a friendly amendment to Councilmember Mono's motion.
Sure.
That would be that we revisit this in 2 years to assess the pros and cons of where we're at.
I'm okay with
Councilmember Mono, that? Okay, great.
I second
The
that.
seconder, thank you. Any other discussion to this motion? Then we will roll call it. Councilmember.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
can you just clarify it's an intent and not actually in the ordinance?
No, I think it's fine because Councilmember Rogers stated it was intent and he said it was in addition to the intent items that are there. So I think it's clear.
Cool.
Thank you. Councilmember Rogers,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros is absent. Councilmember Mono,
yes.
Councilmember Dugan,
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously with one absent. Council members, we are now at our general public hearing. Amanda, can you let me know how many people we have signed up for that?
Sure thing. We have 3 general comments signed up.
Okay, let's just go ahead and take those comments now.
Okay. We have Ray Duckworth, followed by Jesse Salas, and we have Tash for the people. Ray, go ahead.
Hi, this is for my general statement. I'm sorry, I'm having like a sound issue where you guys are cutting out here and there.
We can hear you, so go ahead.
Okay,
and
perfect.
we'll see if it stops.
Thank you. Okay, so I just, really want to highlight the previous comments that were made about Fleet Block. I really hope the council people are really listening to the community as of right now. Like it was previously stated, even in the Pride centers, there is some type of discrimination against Black and Brown Indigenous brothers and sisters. So I really hope that this is a bigger understanding to our council people on how the community really feels about Fleet Block. And then following with Amendment 4, I really do hope that the funding is utilized properly. Unsheltered and people experiencing homelessness are still human beings. They're still people. They still have needs and theirs aren't met as often as ours are. We are pretty privileged as of right now, even me speaking as a Black female in Salt Lake City. And so I really hope that's taken into consideration when discussing what to fund. We really do need public restrooms and public utilities for the unsheltered and the homeless people in Salt Lake, and also just even for the community. It'll be easier on the community if all needs are met all across the board. This includes unsheltered and people experiencing homelessness. So I hope that's all taken into consideration. And if any of the council people would like to meet with me or even participate in an outreach to see and speak with these actual community members, I am all ears and free and open. So please reach out to me. Chris Wharton has my contact information. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. I will share that with my colleagues on the council who don't have it. Next commenter.
Next, we have Jesse Salas, followed by Tash for the People. And I just got word we also have Mary Ann Rojas. Jesse?
Okay.
Jesse, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. First, I want to thank you so much for recognizing Trans Day of Remembrance. I am a trans person in the LGBTQ community, and I can't tell you how much that means to us. Yes, along that same lines, I want to echo what Ray said. Even in queer spaces, Black and Brown people are discriminated against. And it is so, so, so vital that the city truly, truly listen to the people. We are at a pivotal time in history that you as leaders have the opportunity to change how things are done and be an example to the country. Salt Lake City is a beacon to not only the United States, but the world. And I have been an activist for a long time, and recently I have just the people and organizers you have in your city are amazing and brilliant and are truly in there doing work constantly so hard. And I know that if you work with them and make these members of the community a pivotal part of your planning, that the city will boom and it will be so much more than you could ever imagine. And hearing that you passed the Trans Day of Remembrance, I didn't even know that was going to be on the docket, and I have been writing memorials all day for Trans Day of Remembrance. Hearing that, I know that you can do what it takes to be here for all of us, not just the white people in the LGBTQ community. We have Black and Brown and Indigenous people in our community that are being mistreated, and you can set that example.
Thank you, Jesse.
Next, we have Tash for the People, followed by Mary Ann Rojas. And I just got word that we also have Michael Showalter. Tash for the People, go ahead.
Hi. So, just wrapping it up. Obviously, you hear us tell you that we do not want the mural space to be demolished. We do not want. We want rezoning to be postponed indefinitely, or at least into 2021. I'm not going to lie. The community, we don't trust you when you say that you are going to preserve the building. We have no trust that you will do the right thing. But you can do the right thing here. This is more than just a political. This is not a profit issue. This is a humanity issue. We want this space to give back to the community. You want the space to profit off of. There's a big difference there. So I ask that the city really consider going into an MOU, going into some kind of contract with the community, designating some safe space that is under community control. Someone brought up a community advisory. I am in full support of that. And the community advisory should be made up of people on this call, community elected, that have autonomy over what is going to be put into the space, what kind of businesses. I believe that only Black and BIPOC businesses should be brought into the space. This should be a space that is intentionally dedicated to people of color, marginalized people of color in all facets. This could be a very direct statement for Salt Lake City that we are for the people, we are for all people. And you talk about how you've made promises to other community members that they want to see certain things, but this community who wants the space is also loud, and we can show you how many people are here supporting the space as well, if it's in a petition, protest, or whatever. But do not minimize our voice. We are large in numbers, and we can show up if necessary, and we don't want to have to get to that point. So we've said time after time after time what we want in the space, and now it's your job to now reflect what the people are saying, because that is literally what your job is. And if you cannot do your job, then we won't reelect you.
Thank you for those comments. Is there any other commenter?
Yes, Council Chair, we have two other commenters here. We have Marianne Rojas and Michael Showalter. Mary, go ahead, Marianne.
The people need more community health centers, a location that can house health centers for the LGBTQ community, for the Indigenous to gather and organize and mobilize the information that is owed back to them, for the unsheltered to come and learn skills that will help them learn the realities of their mental health, a location where community members can be assisted to get insured, a location for the communities to engage in social, political, and economic change in Salt Lake City, a location where community case management for the true underserved and vulnerable communities can be implemented and enhance the quality of life here in Salt Lake City. Instead, I'm learning that you want to eliminate intentional spaces because the elite and white supremacy will always want to disrupt the power of the community. Some of you forgot where you came from, and others have never seen a community so strong in Salt Lake City, ready and willing to stand up against our overt and discriminatory violence. We will not stand for it. The casualties of your decisions will be major. The emotional, physical, and mental poverty faced by the loved ones of our community are under attack by you. You have shown no commitment to the community's collective efficacies to rebuild our social infrastructure to the optimal well-being of the generations we are raising to be kings and queens. Salt Lake City is building a wall. Your neglect and apathy for the voice of the people is an investment on community trauma, increase in racial, economic, and class struggle, the erasure of intentional history that informs about our community's transitions as process, and clear intention to eradicate the unsheltered population that live in the region. The murals have become a point of intentional connection for the community, not just in sacred ways of union, but it has brought people from different points of Utah to commune. It is intersectional. The people go where they are wanted. The murals is where the people get their information and what you want to eradicate. This is what the top, right, your Republican John Hawkins is also trying to do, to make it illegal, right? To make it legal to run over protesters. This is also an overt community attack. Always. Assholes.
Those comments are received. All right. I'm sorry, Marianne, but if you have any further comments, I can't allow you to make them if you're not going to follow the rules. Sorry. Next.
Next, we have Michael Showalter. I also see Marvin Oliveras has returned. Michael, go ahead.
Hello, I just want to urge you, City Council, to postpone this rezoning. I have heard multiple times that this rezoning doesn't mean anything's going to happen to the murals. Prove it. Postpone this rezoning until the murals have protections. Do not rezone this area. I am urging you, please do not rezone this area until the murals have protections. Please, 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 please. You say that nothing is going to happen to the murals, prove it. Before you rezone this area, show us that you are going to protect these murals and you are not going to use them for profit. Protect these murals before they are rezoned and they are at risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commenters?
I see Marvin Oliveras has returned and he has signed up to give a comment. Marvin, go ahead.
Yeah, what I'll start off by saying is, I'd ask as well not to rezone this mural space here. What was proposed at the beginning of the meeting in Chris's opening statement was an option about downsizing the rezoning. And what's also another option I'm aware of is deferring any action. What I'd say is, from Erin Mendenhall's, I know she's on the call, from Erin's executive orders this year, we understand that these have always been concerns of this community and many others. It took much pressure from the public and protests from that stemmed and began during George Floyd's murder. Please don't let that be just another display of public political theater. You have an opportunity now to actually add to that and show that the sincerity is real by maintaining a space like this. I'm saving a space like this for, as we've talked about, business owners have been on this call expressing the community that you say has input in this is business owners. There's homeowners in that community. There's community members that go and share that space. There's community members that share that space, providing mutual aid, comfort to families that have lost loved ones and things like that. There's the Granary District Alliance, who are representatives of that area, that also spoke on maintaining that space. So I would hope that you guys would move past these typical displays of political theater and really show a true sense of empathy and compassion and sincerity while making these decisions. So I'll echo the sentiment of SB 173, that we understand that is political and state repression, that now on a state level that many people are trying to pass with the special session. So and things like that, as far as being innovative and sympathetic.
Thank you. We can get the contact information for the state legislators for that bill if and post that. But that's not something that goes before the council. Any more comments?
Council Chair, that was our last commenter for this item.
Okay. Thanks for everybody who called in. We will move on now to, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, I just lost my place. Section D, comments to the mayor. Does anyone have a comment they'd like to make to Mayor Mendenhall? Then, okay, then we will go ahead and move on to item E on the agenda, which is new business. The first is a motion to ratify the determination that the council will continue to meet remotely and without an anchor location under HB 5002. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, sorry, was that you, Andrew? Or Councilmember Johnson? Thank you. Okay, I think that was Councilmember Mono. So I have a motion from Councilmember Johnston and a second from Councilmember Mono. Is there any discussion to this motion? Seeing none, then we will roll call vote it. Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros is absent. Councilmember Mono?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously with one absence. We are now at item G on our agenda, the last section. It is our consent agenda. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rogers, a second from Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, we'll proceed to our last roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros is absent. Councilmember Mono?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That is unanimous with Councilmember Valdemoros absent. Council members, that concludes all the items that we have on our agenda for tonight. We will stand adjourned. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
between yellow and orange, for example. We use three main indicators. The first